Awesome. So Salma, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'm going to go into a little about what an international trustee does and what their job is before I tell you a bit about the process. So your job as an international trustee would be to act as a liaison between districts and international, and that can be a little vague. So what that means is that you're assigned up to 3 districts and you're going to work closely with the governors and the board, and that all depends on how much on how they want you to help. So for each of my 3 districts, I know my governors want me to do different things, and I'm just there as an aide for them. I'm also there to make sure that any ideas and suggestions, comments, issues are communicated between both the district level and the international level. So if there's any issues going on with districts, I communicate that to international. If international is planning something and they want feedback, I communicate that to the districts. The other part of my job is also to work on the international board, so that includes committees. I personally serve this year on the Programs and Partners Committee and the Executive Committee, and that includes going on committee calls, working on different programs and different things like that. What I would say about being an international trustee is that your term is really what you make of it. There are a couple of guidelines put down, but if you have big ideas, if you want to see things implemented, then you should definitely run. This is more of a long-term position than a short-term position because in other officer positions, you'll definitely be seeing like the fruition of your work right away, but some things on the international level, you might not even see until you're retired. So if you are interested in trustee, the way to run is that you have to first be endorsed for international. So there are, like Karina said, you can run for international president, international vice president, and an international trustee position. And you run at ICON. So you get elected at ICON, you do the House of Delegates at ICON, but before any of that happens, you do need to be endorsed by your district at your DCON first. And I would love to answer any questions, but I'm pretty sure we're going to do that at the end of the meeting. So yeah.
Okay. Is there any questions right now that anybody wants to just ask, or you guys want to wait? Okay. Okay. Real quick, before we move on, I forgot the 2 really, really important people that are part of our organization, I guess. So our district administrator and our assistant district administrator. So our district administrator, Kenyon Black. Kenyon, you want to say a few words?
A few words.
Yeah, like 30 seconds.
Thank you for everybody to attending today. You will get a lot of great information from these wonderful students that we have. And I wish you all the luck.
Okay, and then we have our assistant administrator, Kelly, who is in charge of our convention. So all the awesome convention that is planned out each year. She works with our CL and takes care of that and does a great job. So Kelly.
Hello, I'm Kelly, and you say by my name, I didn't put assistant administrator because it doesn't all fit. And if I abbreviate, it doesn't look right. And you know, you can imagine how you abbreviate assistant. So anyway, I just wanted to say that hello. I look forward to working with whoever is elected. Kenyon and I do both work pretty closely with all of the staff, and we're usually always available to chat about anything. Huh, Raj? We send jokes. Kelly sends jokes to Raj. So we just look forward to developing a relationship with you guys to help you all do the best job you can as a staff member.
Absolutely. They're 2 very important people. And as you work throughout your term, they're going to become like your family. Like I talk to both of them a lot, maybe a lot more than they want to talk to me, but I literally text them, call them so many times with life crises. So they truly do become a part of your family. So next, I guess we can start off with Alina. Do you want to go?
Sure. Okay, so I'm the tech producer for this year, and basically that just means that I produce all like the techy stuff behind the scenes. It's like working on the website, developing graphics for the Instagram, making videos like the theme release video. I'm also working on a Key Club video. So yeah, I think that's basically most things I do. I guess I would say it's kind of like um, being a like a webmaster and also a lieutenant governor at the same time, because you have to communicate with the district board and with other webmasters. So you're kind of assuming the role of a webmaster, but the communication part with the club webmasters and the district board is kind of like where the lieutenant governor part plays in. And kind of like Salma said, the position's really what you make it to be, especially in TP. So you can be as proactive as you want, or you can do like the bare minimum. But I would advocate for the former and be proactive. Yeah.
Awesome. Any questions about that? Alina, you want to go into a few more projects that you do and like maybe committees that you work with, a little bit more of your work that you've done this year?
Yeah, for sure. So the committees that I work on are the both PR committees. And yeah, all of the staff members work on committees, but for mine, I work on the PR committees. So events, public relations, and general public relations. In addition to the task force committee that was created this year, the COVID-19 task force committee. Yeah. Some other things I've worked on this year. Let's see. I've worked on a lot of stuff for like other people. So for my mind is blinking. Like I've helped out with sponsorship graphics, with LEDcon stickers and logo ideas and other stuff like that. I've done most of the graphics on the Instagram as well. So if you follow us on Instagram, most of those that you see are my creations. So yes. And the TP position is an appointed position, meaning that you do not have to run and caucus like at LEDcon. You just need to apply and send in some important requirements that they ask of you. So when I applied for tech producer, I had to send in like a logo, 2 logo ideas, 1 graphic idea, and stuff like that. So yeah.
Awesome. Any questions? Okay. And you can send them in the chat box, or you can unmute and ask yourself if you want to. Okay, so next we have our convention liaison, Caitlin Rohr.
Okay, so convention liaison, as you can probably tell from the name, is centered around our big conference at the end of the year, LEDCon. And I know it kind of sounds like a lot, and it sounds like, oh my gosh, like you have to do all of that by yourself, but that's really not. Basically, you still work with staff to make everything and do everything for convention or conference, but you just have a large role in like the decision making and the designing. If you have any experience going to LEDCon or you've heard about it and you have any interest in it, this might be a position that you're wanting to go for this year. There aren't a lot of things that CL does monthly, but there are a lot of things that I did throughout the year. The first semester, you're really focused on helping the other board members get their sponsorships for LEDCon and also planning and organizing the forums for LEDCon. So that takes up most of your first semester, and really the first semester doesn't get super full of activities that you have to be doing for CL till November, December. And then you also, towards the end of the first semester, start designing different aspects of convention or conference with the rest of your staff. And then the second semester is when you really start working on LEDcon stuff. You'll work on the call to convention packet, which outlines all of the information that you need to attend LEDcon, and you get to design it for the theme. And then you also continue planning and organizing everyone's schedules for LEDcon, and you'll send those out to them as well. You also assign speech parts for LEDcon, and then at the actual conference, you'll just run around making sure everything is running smoothly and just helping everyone out with what they're supposed to be doing during the weekend. You work really closely with the contest committee and the welcoming activities committee, because those are the 2 committees that actually have a lot of things going on at our actual conference in April. And then monthly, you just really focus on doing any tasks that the governor sets out for you. You check in on people's forums, you check how sponsorships are going, you send updates, and you also work really closely keeping the admins updated. You'll work really closely with Kelly as the CL, and you guys will love getting to work with Kelly. She's awesome. And then this position is actually not elected, it's appointed. So like with what Alina said, you'll send in your application by the deadline and then do any requirements they ask of you. When I applied, I had to send in a resume and a theme presentation idea for an idea for what this year's LED Con theme would be. So that wasn't super hard. You get to be creative with it. The position's definitely not hard. I think it's super rewarding, and of course it has its challenges here and there, and some of the work can add up at certain times of the year just depending what you have going on. But I think it's a super fun position to be in. If you have like a need for a creative outlet, or you want to be super creative and have creative liberties on the designs of LED con and stuff, this is a great position for you to go for. But that's basically it.
Any questions?
CL does not actually work on Icon. You just work on the conference for your district that you're a part of.
Yeah, Icon is planned out by International Board, which is the president, vice president, and trustees. Any other questions? Okay. Next, we'll go to our district editor, Caitlin Tran.
Hey guys. So for district editor, I have two main monthly jobs, I guess. There is the district newsletter, which I publish bi-monthly, and then I have all of the club editor submissions that I grade monthly. So those are basically my two main jobs. I'm going to talk about the Texo key first. There isn't really, I guess, like a template or a requirement, I guess, for the Texo key. As the district editor, you kind of have the creative liberty to really make whatever you want and put whatever you want. What I used when I first started was you can apply for a distinguished like district officer award at Icon, and on the rubric there is this section for district editors of what they require you to put in your newsletters. And so I use that as my basis, and then communicating with the district board, I add on to that like important events or updates that I think are important for our district to know about. And so when you work on the Texo key, communication with the entire board is incredibly important. So always check your emails and always check your texts, because if you've read my Texo key, you know I have staff updates and committee updates for every single one. And I have to make sure that all the staff members and all of the chairs turn in their updates on time. What else about the Texo key? I mean, obviously, if you're a person who's creative and loves designing, the Texo key would basically be like a fun project for you rather than work. When I work on the Texo key, I usually, don't feel bad or stressed about it, because I genuinely enjoy making the Texo key, and I think it's obvious in my final products. What else? I think that's it with the Texo key. Yeah. So, and with each Texo key, obviously you would have to add different things. So in your very first Texo key, you would have a summation of the LED con. So for the elected editor, your first Texo key would be in June, I think, and you would have a summation of the LED con that happened in April. And then later on, you would have like promotion for the upcoming LED con, or you have promotion for the upcoming icon and stuff like that. So those are things to look out for, like big events and stuff. And so, what else? I think that's really it. Yeah. Okay. And for the grading part, so I have like hundreds of emails that come into my inbox every month on the 5th, and it's great. And so I basically organize all of the emails by assignment. So I organize by assignment, and I organize those that are on time and those that are late. And then I literally just go in and grade all of them. So I have like this giant spreadsheet basically where I keep track of everyone's points, and Google Sheets is smart, so it just adds up all the points for me. Okay. And so it's quite a bit of work. Usually I get all my assignments on the 5th, and I give myself a week just to kind of break. And then on the 12th is when I start grading. And I start grading with the easiest assignments first. So the riddle of the month, the letter to editors, stuff that are just, you look at it and you automatically know what their score is. And so I get that stuff done and I break it down. So each day is one assignment. So it takes me a week to grade all of the assignments. And then I have to send them all out, put all the scores in a spreadsheet, and then I have to release top 5 newsletters, and I have to make sure those clubs communicate back to me. And I have to also make all the posts on the website. Oh yeah, so I make all the posts on the website. I make the graphics for the posts. So the top 5 newsletters and the article prompts posts, those graphics I make myself, which is also a fun part because I like making graphics. And so yeah. Oh yeah, and as a district editor, you have to communicate very well and punctually with the clubs. So on the 1st, I set a reminder about assignments. On the 5th, I do as well. And on the 1st, I post article prompts every month on the website. I create the article prompts and I create the graphics and all that stuff. So everything is on a timeline. So every month is very structured. And so that's how I work. What else? Yeah. Oh, and aside from club submissions, the district editor also works to grade lieutenant governor newsletters. So if you don't know what a lieutenant governor is, it's basically like that one person that you elect to run over your division and their liaison from the district board to all the clubs. And lieutenant governors every month also create a newsletter just like club editors. And every month they also send in their newsletters to me at a certain deadline. And their grading is similar to that of club editors. So I grade those as well. I think there's like about 35-ish lieutenant governors. And so I grade theirs and I approve of theirs and I give it back, and then they can send it out to their clubs. And so that's basically my job. Outside of my job, I work on, like my main job, I work with the committees. So like Alina, I also head the same committees as Sheeta. So I head both the general public relations and event public relations committee. I help out sometimes with making the graphics for the Instagram, but honestly, Alina does like 90% of the work. So all the credit should go to her, not me. I attend the meetings and just help out a little bit. I also help out with other, work with other people. So as a district staff, we help create a lot of the branding for LEDCon. So I contribute to that too. That's like outside of my duties. I help design the official LEDCon pin and the logo, and just like contribute to other things. What else do I do? I think that's it. I'll now talk about my candidacy process. For me, COVID happened like last year, so it was very different for me. So when I first applied, I sent in my submission to the administrators, and then one of the regional advisors emailed me back with like what I have to submit. So what I had to submit was a campaign flyer, which is basically like a resume-ish of your accomplishments and your credentials and basically your goals for the new term and why people should elect you, basically. And I also had to submit a sample newsletter. So in the email that the regional advisor gave me had the requirements for the sample newsletter. It had to be 5 to 7 pages. They gave me some articles that I had to include and other requirements that I had to put in. So I basically made a mini newsletter so that people could see my skill and kind of my style of making the newsletter. And LEDCon was canceled. So I didn't do any of the like the speeches, the caucusing in the House of Delegates. So if you're interested in that, I'm not the person to talk to because I did not have any experience with that. But the other candidates did, I'm pretty sure, or have seen it. So when I ran, it was at the summer board meeting in July, and I basically had to prepare a 2 or 3 minute speech, and then I had to do 2 to 3 minutes of questioning. So people would just ask me questions and I would answer them. So that was my experience. But, you know, y'all are gonna have to actually do the whole caucusing and House of Delegates thing. So it's a little more complicated than that. But yeah, that's been my experience. It's been pretty good. I highly recommend running for district editor. It is a very fun position. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Caitlin. Okay, so next we'll have our district treasurer, Raj, go over his.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Raj. If you guys already don't know me, I am the district treasurer. Thank you guys all for being here today. It shows really good interest, and it's really good. What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, you guys took your prerogative in being here, so good job. So I'll talk a little bit about the district treasurer position, which I think is pretty widely regarded as the easiest position if you have a lot of stuff on your plate. Just in terms of, it's probably the easiest to do with a loaded year. So if you're balancing a lot of other stuff, district treasurer is really the way to look. I'm not the most creative person, so I knew that going in when I was thinking about what to run for. And I knew that if I was editor or tech producer, that would not have ended well for me or the district. So I think that for a lot of us, it's just addressing what you're good at and kind of working towards your strengths. And so to be district treasurer, I think that the number one thing is you have to be really good at just problem solving. So a lot of stuff is going to come up if you do run for staff that requires pretty diverse thought and trying to come up with complex solutions to complex problems. So I think that being district treasurer is one of those things that, because you don't have as much on your plate, you can focus on those issues from like a more staff perspective, along with the governor. I feel like treasurer and governor do a lot of like the big problem solving. And that's not to say the rest of the staff members don't, because we're all pretty equal in that. But just it's usually that I have the time just because I'm not working on other outside things that are required by my position. But what is required by my position are monthly club standings and then obviously updates. Oh, a complex problem. Yeah, I can definitely. So one thing, a complex problem that we have gone through this year is trying to navigate this online, or just how to do this decon. And obviously because of COVID, there have been a lot of definitely unforeseen issues that have arisen, and just kind of walking through them, figuring out what accommodations can be made to make sure that everyone has a really positive experience is been definitely difficult, and it has been kind of like pulling teeth. You know, you kind of have to do one thing at a time and just be willing to work through each layer. And then from that point on, you can start making decisions on behalf of the entire district. So that's kind of one complex problem. Another one is that a lot of the times that other people on staff are going to have other stuff going on, so you're going to have to step up and take a bigger leadership role in that sense. So you have to be willing to adapt. You have to be willing to just be a team player. Honestly, I think that's a really important thing for a district treasurer, just because you have more time than really anyone else. And back to my responsibilities. So the number one thing I do is I thought we were talking about math. Oh, no, it's the math really isn't that bad. I know that being a district treasurer seems like it would be super math intensive. Trust me, it's really not. It's just having kind of an understanding of spreadsheets, not even that much. And then just being able to just look at a lot of data and just being able to kind of analyze it and see what it's telling you. But that's not intimidating. You can learn that really easily. I picked it up pretty quick. And then, so club standing reports are essentially how each club's status is in the district. So if a club is paid, you have to indicate that on the report. If they're inactive, you have to indicate that. This year we have an COVID designation, and so we have to indicate those. That's funny. So if you have anything going on, oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought. But just in terms of these club standing reports, you just have to be able to identify what exactly each club is kind of going through. And then on top of that, reaching out to those clubs that usually pay or have been active in the past but aren't paying for it this year for some reason. You have to be kind of taking the initiative to go and email them, see what's going on, see if they maybe had a sponsor change. And then I talked about problem solving on a staff level. There's a lot of problem solving on the club level as well. So trying to figure out everything that we can do to make y'all's lives easier as club treasurers, because you guys aren't club treasurers, but a club treasurer's life easier in general is a big thing for the district treasurer, and trying to communicate really well is another huge thing. So this year, I think the thing I'm probably the most proud of is the YOF grant. So going into this year, we knew COVID was going to be a really big deal, and it was going to really derail what we usually do. But the one thing it felt like was constant was the YOF grant. And seeing that a lot of our members were gone and a lot of our clubs honestly are kind of off the map this year because of COVID, it was disheartening at the beginning when I was thinking I was going to say, oh, the member count's going to be down this year, so I'm assuming with the YOF grant we're not going to have as many clubs get it. But incredibly, I don't even know how, it was incredible that we pulled this off. But the club treasurers, they really got on it, and we got 11 clubs to get it, which was the second most out of any district, which was actually really a huge resounding feat. It's really impressive that we were able to pull this off, especially with the unforeseen circumstances and kind of stuff that was way out of our control. So truly big ups to the club treasurers who did that. But all I really did was communicate deadlines and then offer assistance when they needed it, but it was really up to them. And I think that that's something you'll notice about a lot of the other staff positions is that you kind of just complement your respective position at the club level. I think that that's a big thing. I know for editors, especially as probably secretaries as well, is you're kind of just an extension of all club editors and club treasurers and club secretaries to the district staff, and you kind of have to make sure that what they want is represented on whenever we're making decisions and stuff like that. So just being kind of representative and having an idea of what your people need is a super big deal too. So if any of this stuff kind of interests you, this whole analytical stuff, kind of really crunching the numbers on membership in our district, and then figuring out issues or finding issues and then addressing them, that's another big thing. So if any of that stuff really interests you, I suggest district treasurer. I think that it's a great position. And then if any of you rising seniors are going to are thinking about college apps or anything, you have a lot on your plate, consider district treasurer. It's really not too labor intensive, but of course, like any other staff position, it is a pretty big time commitment. So yeah, that's all I got.
Awesome. Any questions? Okay, let's move on to our district secretary, Vivian.
Hi guys. So I'm going to break down the district secretary responsibilities into 3 parts. I would say minutes, COCI, and then monthly reports. So I'm going to start with minutes. As a secretary, you have to take minutes for all of the big board meetings. So we have our summer board meeting, we also have our staff training, our summer board meeting, a fall staff, winter board meeting, and then LTG training, and then LED con. So that's 6. But you're gonna have to take minutes for all of that, and then also for all the mini staff meetings. So right now, since our convention season is approaching, we're currently having staff meetings every week. So as a secretary, you would take minutes every week, every meeting. And in the fall, it's like maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks. But you would just take minutes and then send them to the whole staff or to the whole board, whichever type of meeting it is. So if you like typing, you don't have to be really fast at typing, but if you like typing minutes, then it might be the perfect job for you. I think that sometimes when you're a secretary and you're listening a lot, you're typing, you might not have as much time to speak, which is not to say that you have to be quiet, but I just find that personally good for me because I just like listening to other people and writing down what they're saying. So yeah, that's one part of being a secretary. The next part is the COCI, which stands for Club Officer Contact Information. You're in charge of putting all of the club officers in Texas and Oklahoma, all of their contact information in one ginormous spreadsheet to send to Key Club International. So how to do that is you're going to be communicating with lieutenant governors and just encouraging them to get their contact information in and giving tips on and like just advice on how to do that, especially when clubs are not communicating as much, especially during the pandemic. It's one of my, I guess it's my least favorite part of the job just because it's really difficult to get that much information and to put it all and consolidate it in one spreadsheet. But yeah, it's just another part of the job. You're also looking over the district's roster, which is a spreadsheet with all of the board's contact information, administrators, and regionals. So that's just something you'll be constantly updating as well when people are resigning or getting appointed, all of that. And then lastly, monthly reports. So club secretaries are required to submit monthly reports every month. And what you do is you grade them. So we have some rubrics already. So if you become a district secretary, you're not going to have to make your own rubric or point system or anything like that. Those are already set and they're on tokeyclub.com. But what you do is you look at the rubrics in the system that's already set up and you grade all of the monthly reports that come in. Some of it is, I don't know if automated is the right word, but calculated for you because you can put formulas into the spreadsheets. If you've noticed, I've been saying spreadsheets a lot. Spreadsheets are very important. If you don't know how to manipulate spreadsheets but you're willing to learn, that's totally fine. I had to learn a lot about spreadsheets when I became a district secretary, but yeah, you'll be looking over a bunch of spreadsheets. So as I was saying, the monthly reports, you grade all of them. You will receive around 100 monthly reports a month. So you'll just have to look through all of them and it's quite time consuming, but it's really fun seeing all the responses from the monthly reports because as a district secretary, you're going to be the only person who sees all of the service that clubs are doing. So like I got to see the different activities that clubs are participating in. And I think that's really cool. It's what Key Club's all about. And then in addition to grading those, you will be responsible for announcing the top 25 clubs every quarter. So that's every 3 months, you'll be announcing that. There's some set dates that you want to do things. For example, the COCI, the first deadline is November 1st. So you have to turn all of that into international. But with top 25, there's not an exact date. So I guess it's not the most deadline intensive, but you will definitely have to stay organized to keep on top of all those spreadsheets and just to manage your responsibilities because I think you do have a lot of responsibilities, but it's also a lot of fun. So yeah.
Any questions? Okay, so I'll go. I think I'm the only person left. So a little bit about what a district governor is and does. So, as a district governor, you are basically the face of the district. So that carries a lot of responsibilities, stress, anxiety with that, because at the end of the day, you know, you are the one who is going to be making a lot of the decisions, sometimes with the help of others and sometimes with your own instincts and your gut. It's really important to have a balanced structure. Being a governor, you have a lot of responsibilities. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. For example, I work with a lot of people. So the entire district board, which is comprised of about 45 of us, 40 LTGs, and then total 6 staff members. So I have to have communication with each of these individuals on a monthly, weekly, sometimes even daily basis. You work very closely with your board. Out of all the staff members, I might be the closest with all the LTGs because I have to communicate with them the most, because my job is guiding my lieutenant governors. So you're basically in charge of leading your lieutenant governors through their divisions. Obviously, all the information that you give them will go to your lieutenant governors, and then your lieutenant governors take that to their clubs. So at the end of the day, their work really depends on what you give to them and what type of work you do. Because if you fail at your job as governor, then your lieutenant governors are going to fail at their job, and then their divisions and their clubs are going to fail. So it's really important that you take that and really take it seriously, you know, and be the best that you can be and work hard for your LTGs, because you are guiding those lieutenant governors through any issues that they have, through you know, communication. Sometimes I have really good connections with a lot of my LTGs. We talk about, you know, things like personal related, academics. You know, it's not just all Key Club. You form really good connections, and I think that's what I've loved the most about my position. It's not the title, it's not the responsibilities, it's more of the people and the connections that I've made through it. Because like I said, you get really close to your board. And then you work with your staff. So like I said, the staff has 6 members, so 5 others beside me. And you become like family with your staff members. I can say that I've met some of these staff members. I've worked with them in previous terms, but there are a few people that I've never met. And I think that this year we haven't met since February last year in 2020. So it's about to be a year. And that's crazy to think, because we've worked this entire year together, and I can't say that we've had that many issues. We've gotten through a lot together, and I feel so close to these people. So I promise you're going to get to a point with your staff that you feel so comfortable and so close. Like it's just another family to you. So you work really closely with people. Kenyon and Kelly, like I said earlier, you work very closely with them as well. I probably call Kenyon once or twice a week, and sometimes our calls literally go on for like an hour or so, you know. And it's not always about Key Club. Sometimes we just talk about Kenyon's fun times hunting and, you know, all this mess that he does, or sometimes he like has a few toes that are missing or whatnot. So we just have fun with it, you know. It's really important to like build those connections, have strong. Okay, guys, don't worry. Kenyon has his toes. One of them's missing, but the rest of them are there. And you'll have to hear the story from him. But you form a lot of connections, and I have a lot of friends, you know, even in the district, like my presidents, just random Key Club members that I've became friends with through office hours and stuff like that. So as you go about, you make a lot of friends, you meet a lot of people. And then another part of your job is making hard decisions. So as the governor, you really are the person who is going to tell somebody whether they're doing their job or not. You know, that's not something that we all like to do. We're teenagers. I'm not a person that likes conflict, you know. And for me, it was really hard whenever I started this position. Raj, why are you shaking your head? What even? Whenever I started this position, that was definitely one of the hardest things that I had to learn. And thankfully I have learned throughout my term is like sometimes, you know, not everybody's gonna like you and not everybody's gonna appreciate the decision that you make. That doesn't mean that it's wrong. You just have to believe in yourself and believe in the decision that you make, and make it with a strong, good head. You know, sometimes there are times, Amani, do you have a question?
No, that was an accident. I'm sorry.
Okay, you're good. So sometimes, you know, people might not believe in your decision, but sometimes I've like slept on my decisions to make sure I make the right decision. So just believe in your decisions that you make, and I promise like that very tough thing might become a lot easier. And like it's something that really is daunting to a lot of people. It was daunting to me, but it becomes easier. And so yeah, you know, I have had to remove people. I've had to send warnings. I've had to send warnings to like my friends that were on board. You know, that doesn't ruin our personal relationship, because that kind of leads me into the next thing. It's really important to balance your personal and professional life in Key Club. As a district governor, you're going to become friends with these people for sure, but you're also going to have those friends that sometimes fail to do their job, and you're going to have to tell them in a kind but stricter way that, hey, you're not doing your job, this needs to be fixed. And you know, it kind of depends on how the other person takes it. Sometimes they take it well, sometimes they don't, and you're gonna have to deal with that. And I promise you'll figure out how to deal with it when that time comes. But it's really important that you can differentiate between those two levels and maintain your professionalism when you're strictly talking about Key Club matters, but then be personal friends when you're talking about other things. It's completely doable to do both. I promise you don't have to lose friends over this. The second thing, or I don't know, I'm not even counting. I don't know why I said the second thing, guys. The next thing in my list is communication. I kind of touched on this earlier. You communicate a lot with a lot of people. As governor, you're on the International Council. So the International Council comprises of the International Board, which has the trustees and IVP and IP, plus the 34 district governors. So each of us represent our district. So I represent Texas Oklahoma district, and on the International Council, and voice any concerns that we have and take that. Something Salma said earlier, she works with the governor. So as a governor, you work with an international trustee. The trustee is anybody that isn't from your district. So Salma is from the Florida's district. She's a junior. And so I got paired with her kind of based on our personalities, and I think they matched really well. But you work really closely with your international trustee. They're just a friend to kind of support you through this really long, sometimes can be rough year, because there's a lot that goes on, and they're just kind of there to offer outside perspectives. Yes, international trustees cannot be from your own district. So if you run for international trustee, you cannot choose to serve your own district. You have to choose another one. So that's that. And then I am a part of all committees. So I might not directly work on all committees, but I have committee reports from every single committee. So each month I look at all the committees' work, all their progress. But specifically, I am the staff member for the REC committee, Kiwanis Family and International Relations Committee, COVID Task Force Committee. There's one more that I'm just like forgetting right now, guys. But basically you work and oversee all the functions and all the committees. And then you host, I host staff meetings on a monthly or weekly basis. You plan out all the board meetings and the agendas and stuff like that. You send out updates. I send out bi-weekly updates, but you're required to send out monthly updates. So it just kind of depends on how you want to do it, how you want to take your term in terms of that. It's really important to find balance. There's a lot of things that go on. You know, you have a lot of things outside of Key Club. I have a lot of other extracurriculars and activities, academics, outside of Key Club. So that keep me occupied. So it's really important that I find time during my day, during my week, to plan out like when I need to do certain things, you know, to make sure that they all get done in a timely manner. Because at the end of the day, if you can't get things done in a timely manner, then the 45 people that are relying on me can't get their stuff done in a timely manner. So that's a lot of responsibility that you have to take upon yourself and really be self-motivated a lot of times. Another thing is grading monthly reports. That is sometimes a fun task, sometimes not, it kind of depends. But I love to grade monthly reports because I get to see all the progress that my lieutenant governors are making. So each month, lieutenant governors are required to submit a monthly report that I then grade based on a system that I have, and I give them points and everything, and all lieutenant governors are ranked. And each quarter, so every 3 months, I release the top 5 lieutenant governors. At the end of the year at convention, I'll announce the overall top 5 lieutenant governors that get a plaque and a nice recognition for their work. So you are basically in charge of like ranking all of your LTGs in terms of the work that they're providing, meaning that you have to analyze everything that they do. Obviously, you can't go into their divisions and, figure out what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. So that's how the monthly reports help me kind of figure out what they're doing and help them out in any capacity that I can. But that's really it. That's kind of what you do as a district governor. I know that seems like a lot, but I promise it's manageable. Oh, well, I'm glad, Amani. Are there any questions that you guys have? Any questions about being? If not, then we will kind of go into the preparing for running and the caucusing process. So to go over the caucusing process in person. So obviously last year we didn't have an in-person convention, so our caucusing was really just, we didn't have caucusing. And do staff members choose? Staff members get a little say in like what committees they're on, but usually we try to keep them traditional from year to year. Like, for example, district governor's always on the rec committee and the Kiwanis International Relations Committee. The TP and editor are usually always on like the PR committees, the graphic design committees. Our convention liaison is always on the convention committees like contests and awards and welcoming, and then our secretary and treasurer kind of have a little bit more flexibility on which committee they want to go to, but it's pretty decided. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, so last year all the positions were unopposed besides the governor position, and we just had a small election at our summer board meeting where the candidates gave speeches and answered questions. This year, we don't know, obviously, like what is going to happen with convention yet, if it will be in person or not, or something to that extent. So kind of depends, but we're going to go ahead and give you guys some like tips, tricks, and kind of how the process works, because regardless of how convention is, we're going to try to make the caucusing process as normal as possible. So for that, me, our district secretary Vivian, and our tech producer Alina will kind of go over the caucusing process, how it happens at convention, because we 3 have been through it before. Do you guys want me to start it off, or do you want to start it off of preference? Okay, so basically at convention, you get to convention, the night 1 of convention, there's a candidates meeting where all the candidates go. You bring in, if you have an escort, so somebody that's going to be walking you to all of your caucusing rooms, and you bring that person in, and it's just Kenyon actually with the rec chair going over all the rules. There is no campaigning before election. There's no campaigning until election until you're at convention. If you campaign before then you can be disqualified. We have had to do that to people before, whether it be for like lieutenant governor positions or whatnot. Campaigning is strictly not allowed. And so you have that candidates meeting, and then Saturday, Kenyon, is the social media campaigning now allowed? It got past the 2019 convention. Okay, where they can you're muted.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So there are actually there is a social media campaign, so that's 15 days prior to convention. But you will get information from our rec chair on like the rules of that. So campaigning, basically, there's many ways you can campaign. So before convention, 15 days prior to convention, you'll be able to campaign through social media. The only social media platforms that we allow are Facebook and Instagram, because those are the easiest to monitor, and our rec committee will be monitoring your accounts. You'll have to like fill out a form, submit your information and stuff like that. And then you can campaign, like whether it be create videos, posts, however you want to do it. You can campaign, follow other people, as long as we can monitor. And then at convention, you're free to do however, as long as you're not defaming another candidate, putting them in the bad light, and making any malicious comments towards them. You are pretty much free to do whatever you want, as long as you're responsible and respectful to your opponents. That's the most important thing. We don't want to hear you defaming somebody else, because that's the number one thing, that really kind of just throws everybody off. So as long as you're being kind about it, you can do any type of campaigning. So basically, Saturday of convention, we have caucusing. So it's the regional caucusing, meaning that like all of the regions that you guys are in, they're all like kind of sorted out into little groups. And there's 6 rooms usually for caucusing, and you're going to go from one room to another until you're finished with all 6 rooms, and you're going to give your now it's changed. So previous years, there was like 2-minute speech, 3 minutes questioning. Now candidates have the option to do 5 minutes, and you have to have at least 1 minute of speech and at least 1 minute of questioning. So the rest of the time you can kind of like choose. So you can do like 4 minutes of speech and 1 minute of questioning, or like 3 minutes of speech and 2 minutes of question. That's how you want to do it. I would personally suggest that you kind of like split it in the middle, like the 2 and the 3, or the 3 and the 2. Don't go like overboard with speech and overboard with questioning. That's something personal that you can choose. But anyway, so you have the 5 minutes to speak in every single room. And then after regional caucusing is over, all the delegates that are in their room will vote, and the top 2, so if there's like more than 2 people running for a position, the regional caucusing is there to eliminate all the extra people, and only 2 people for each position get to advance to caucus or to House of Delegates. So in leadership luncheon. So after the 2 delegates or the 2 candidates for each position advance, like they comes out within like in half an hour. So after regional caucusing, we'll get them posted and everything. You'll see your name. And then if you find out that you advance, you can like finish up a speech or whatever, because then you have a 1-minute speech and a fishbowl question to answer at the leadership luncheon session. So the fishbowl question is basically just a question that the staff members will write. It'll be placed in a bowl. You'll just like pull out a question and you'll answer that in front of the entire delegation. And then you'll give a 1-minute speech, again, reemphasizing what you want your delegates to know before they go into HOD. So after the leadership luncheon is over, you will head to House of Delegates, which is where, again, you will give your 1-minute speech, 3 minutes of questioning, and after that process is over and all the candidates have given their speeches and done their questioning, everybody will vote. All the delegates that are there present will vote, and then the election results will be announced that following night at the closing ceremony. So that's really how the entire process of convention election works. It's kind of a long day. It's all like always in a Saturday, and it's a long day. There's a lot of emotions that flood you. So each of us will kind of give you guys our like experience behind it. The speech usually given at leadership luncheon and House of Delegates is not the same. It's kind of to your advantage if you do different speeches, because you want people to hear more things coming from you, because they're only 1-minute long speeches. So you would theoretically want them to be different speeches, if possible. So sometimes it's really hard to like stand out, and so you can be creative with your speeches if you want to, if you're like that creative person. Like I know some people like do songs, some people do like poems, raps, whatever kind of works to your advantage in terms of that. But I'm gonna let Alina and Vivian kind of share a little bit of their experience, and then we'll kind of go into a little bit more of like tips, and then obviously answer questions, because I know that's a really confusing process sometimes, and it's a really overwhelming process for sure. So Vivian, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so one of the things that I find is really important, whatever speech you're doing, whatever questions you're answering, is that you're confident and you're competent. So what that means is you really do need to study your position that you're running for, and try to talk to as many as you possibly can. What Alina and I both did before we ran is we studied the bylaws, which are on tokclub.com. So anyone can access those. But what you want to do is look at what your position entails. So if someone were to ask you, are you aware of what a district secretary does or what a tech producer does or anything like that, you should know your position in and out before you begin running. We actually made a Quizlet. You don't have to be that extra, but just study what your position entails. Another thing I would definitely say is you want to be ambitious and set goals, but not overly ambitious. So, for example, before I was a district secretary, I actually ran for district editor, and I was really unfamiliar with how many clubs were sending in newsletters. Like, so for one of my goals, I said, I want TO to have a 90% newsletter submission rate. And little did I know the actual submission rate that year was around 14%. And it was a shock. And I was basically, I don't know, very embarrassed when I was caucusing. So make sure that doesn't happen to you. So make sure you do your research. And if you, like Caitlin and I would be happy to share how many editors or secretaries, the percentage of reporting or submissions, like stuff like that. So you just, if you don't know, make sure you ask. And yeah, another thing is, I think each speech that you do should have a different vibe, if that makes sense. So when you have a House of Delegates speech, you have to realize that if you get to House of Delegates, that's a serious speech. Of course, show your personality, but that speech should definitely have everything about your campaign, all of the details that are maybe boring but necessary to understanding who you are as a candidate. Whereas for your leadership luncheon speech, you can be more funny if you would like. It can be more entertaining, just because then you want to be memorable and in a positive way, not as a person who spoke in a really boring manner about what they're going to do. So leadership luncheon is the type of speech or the type of time for you to use your speech to stand out and to be more creative. And so, yeah, whatever you do, make sure you go in confidence and know that no matter what position you're running from, like if you are on here and you're a key club member or a club officer, don't be discouraged if you see that you're running against someone already on the board. Honestly, you can do anything you put your mind to. I personally ran from club and I became district editor, and so did Caitlin Tran. So your position right now doesn't mean a lot at all. Don't worry too much about that if you are worried.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn to talk. So unlike the other two, I actually ran and I lost. So let me tell you, it's pretty heartbreaking, right? But it's honestly, it was a good experience. I'm a pretty shy and introverted person, so like going up on a like stage and caucusing and talking to random people about like people I don't know about and doing and embarrassing myself, like that year I did like a parody to the Old Town Road song because it was like super popular. So I was like, okay, why don't I just like do a parody of that? So that was embarrassing. Like I was like you're in front of 50 people that you don't know, and you bring in the speaker and you turn on the song like the soundtrack and you just okay, I honestly I think I still have some trauma from it, but overall it was a good experience. Before then I was like really nervous about public speaking and stuff like that, but now I feel like I'm a little bit more confident in my public speaking skills. It's definitely not as great as like the other staff members, but I still feel like I'm not saying that much anymore. I'm not like being super nervous. So yeah, I would say that you should definitely be creative in your um, speech, like your general speech for caucusing and in your leadership function speech. So it doesn't matter whether convention will be in person or online, but I think a creative speech will make you stand out. Like I went from a club secretary, or I didn't even have a club treasurer position in Key Club. I was treasurer in other organizations, but not in Key Club. And I was able to advance to House of Delegates. I think that's mostly because of my speech and how that, like, I guess, enraptured people, and they were like, wow, she's so cool, or something like that. I don't know. It's the appeal of like your creativity, and you can show your passion in it. I know Caitlin's laughing at me right now. I'm so embarrassed. Yeah, so for speeches, be creative. I don't know how I got to the second round because I was competing against 2 other LTGs and I was only a club officer. So if I can do it, I bet you guys can too. So yeah. I don't know. I feel like everyone else already said all the main tips, but I would just say like practice a little bit and don't be too nervous because at the end of the day, you don't really know these people, and who are they to like tell you did a bad speech when they didn't even run. So I was like, yeah, I just challenge myself. You can grow as a person, and then yeah, I don't know. I think I just rambled a lot. But if you guys do want to see my speeches, I'm more than happy to share them. Just don't plagiarize them because that's not good. We don't want academic dishonesty in here.
Yeah, for real, Alina's speech like still brings me like happiness whenever I listen to it. I have like listened to it a few times. It's just pure joy, man, pure joy. But yeah, that's really it. I think they both like shared some really good pointers. Just know like you're gonna be nervous. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be an easy day. The night before, I'll be honest, I was literally breaking down. Like I was crying, bawling my eyes out. You can ask like District Treasurer Raj. Like I literally cried to him. Like I was so nervous about this position and this whole like pressure of talking in front of like thousands and thousands of people. Okay, not thousands and thousands, 1,000 people. I had never done something to that extent. So like it was really scary and crazy. But if I did it, if we all did it, y'all can do it like 110%. So just believe in yourself, and honestly, like they say, fake it till you make it. Sometimes you might have to fake a little bit of extra confidence because when you're going in, that's the number one thing. Like I remember I had this binder and it was like my LTG binder, okay? And I just walked into each room with my binder in my hand, and that binder like provided me security. So if there's like a binder or a folder, like for me, that was like security. So if something like that, like, you know, provides you security, maybe you can take something like that. And people will ask you questions sometimes that are like difficult, you know, like one of the not difficult questions, but one of the questions that like threw me off was like, I had never been a district secretary, or I mean, I had never been a club secretary before for Key Club. And so everybody like attacked me for that, you know? And I was like, I knew this was gonna happen, but I had been club secretary in other clubs and organizations. So that's kind of how I bounced back, and I had been an LTG before. So even if you don't have the experience of being the specific like position, that's okay, because I didn't either. And so don't let that like deter you away from like running or whatnot, because I promise you can learn as time goes on. And like our positions are different from like the club level positions. Like, yeah, you are overseeing the club level positions, but at the same time, like they are different. So don't let that deter you, and practice lots of questions. I made like my friends that I was like on the board with, we literally practiced together because we campaigned together and stuff like that. So we practiced so many questions. What kind of questions do they ask you? It's not really an interview, it's caucusing. So basically, like, you know, you're going from room to room, and it's all the club members that are in there that are going to be asking you questions to really like see who's the best for the district. And so questions are going to be pertaining to your experience, your knowledge about Key Club, your knowledge about your position, your goals. Really know the ins and outs of your goals. Like that was the number one thing, is like you can have goals and they not be well executed. So you need to know how to implement them. Like Caitlin said, like you definitely need to know your goals and what you plan to do in your position. You are asked to make a one-page flyer. So a lot of your questions sometimes come off those flyers. So make sure like when you make your flyer, it's really eye-catching. There's not too many words. If you're not a really creative person, take the help of somebody that is more creative. I remember like whenever I ran for district secretary, I made my own flyer. That whenever I ran for governor, I actually had Vivian help me on my flyer. And she's like an aesthetic queen. So she helped me out a lot. And so yeah, use help if you need it, because your flyer honestly is a big part of you. It kind of like needs to capture your personality. I just lost my train of thought. And like speak for who you are and like have your goals and everything on it, because people honestly might forget what you said in your speech, but they won't forget what's on your campaign flyer, because the flyer will always be in front of them, so they can always ask you questions on that. Yeah, I think there is like a flyer guidebook that is always shared with all the candidates before they like run. So whenever you're making your flyers, Kelly will actually share a folder of like previous flyers that past candidates have made. So you guys will have access to that whenever you do run. And you'll be able to see like what we kind of wrote and stuff like that. Another thing that I always like, that was like kind of hard for me, is coming up with goals. So whenever I ran for district secretary, it was a lot more harder, I guess, than district governor, because a lot of the goals that you have from year to year are like the same. Like they don't really change. Like for secretary, like I changed my percentage that I wanted to raise monthly reporting by, and then Vivian kind of did the same thing. But other than that, like it kind of stays the same. So it's really not about like how big and bold your goals are, but more like how well you can execute them. Applications are due March 8th, and they are found on the our website. So if you go to candidacy applications, you'll be able to see elected staff applications right there, and just fill that out and send it in. And yeah, if you want, I can send my flyers out. Let me just if you have like additional questions, we'll all drop our emails and everything. So you guys can always like reach out to us with questions. Also, don't be scared, because like even after we retire, we're gonna help you guys out and help like ensure that there is a smooth transition into the next board. So we're not just gonna leave you in the dark and like leave you to struggle it out on your own. We're all gonna be there and like kind of guide you through your process and through your positions, and really just kind of be there to help you out. So don't worry. Any other questions?
Oh yeah, I'll just also add that using humor in your speech is also a really good way to appeal to the audience, right? So that I think that's probably like the only determining factor of how I got to the next round. So I definitely think that you guys should include it. Plus it makes it easier for everyone else to like listen to all the speeches. So
Yeah, there's a lot of candidates that usually run. So, I mean, besides last year was just an odd year. But usually we have about like 12 to 15 people that run in total, not for each position. So just kind of like, really find out how you can stand out. Because that's really important. Another thing is like if it is in person, attire also matters a lot. You can really like make a strong style statement. I was really upset because I had like a whole white suit with a red shirt all planned out for like last convention. I was running for governor, and obviously that didn't happen. I didn't like really get to wear everything, so I was really upset. But like, be bold with your outfits. Like, obviously, wear something professional, but if you have a strong color that just makes you feel like Wonder Woman or Superman, just wear it, like have fun with it. And wear clothes that will like make you stand out, like poppy colors or like something that obviously fits with your personality too. So yeah, that's just a tip.
Yeah, I haven't run. I haven't ever caucused, but I've run for a pretty tightly contested LTG election. I think it's like 5 people, and I know that so I haven't really given one of these crazy HOD speeches, but I definitely heard a lot of them. I definitely heard a lot of bad ones too. I think that the one thing is, it sounds so stupid and so corny, but it really is staying true to yourself. Um, Alina's was amazing because Alina is just like, her personality shines through so much. But if you're not going to be that person who's just like fun loving and easygoing and you're more serious, your speech definitely can be more serious. Like, you don't have to force humor. Um, she said define bad. No, not bad like that, but bad relative to the other good ones that I've heard. Um, and I think that it really is just staying true to yourself. Otherwise, it just sounds forced. And I think that you don't think other people can tell that it sounds forced, but it definitely does sound forced sometimes. And I'm not saying that if you're super serious, you can't have any humor in your speech, because that's just no fun. But just don't like try and make it like a focal point if that's not who you are. I would say that you're really trying to sell yourself more than your platform, just because your platform is what you want to do, but yourself is what everyone in the district is stuck with throughout the entire thing, regardless of what you get done. So, again, sell yourself, and it's just honestly just put your best foot forward, and then you'll do great.
I'd like to add on to Raj because he does make a good point. Like, you want to sell yourself, right? And so one thing that I made sure when I did my speech was to add accomplishments, because you need to brag. This is your chance to brag about why you are the most qualified candidate for this position. And so for me, as district editor or club editor before, I bragged about like how I received top 5 newsletter almost every single month. I think there was only 1 month where I didn't receive top 5 newsletter. I had the rare opportunity to lead a forum for LED Con, which is like something club, like people at the club level weren't able to do, because Vivian invited me, which was like such a great thing. So if you have accomplishments, not only from Key Club, but even from anywhere else, just something that makes you seem competent and like ready for the position, then please do it. Don't think that you're being conceited or whatever, because this is your opportunity to prove yourself to all these people who know nothing about you. They know nothing, but you got to give them something to like go off of, to pick like who they want to be in the district position. And I think the most important thing, especially for questioning, is you need to really get in touch with your campaign. You need to know, like, when you set goals or when you include something in your campaign flyer, you have to ask yourself why you're including this, or like, how are you going to get to this? You have to know that thing by heart, because you could prepare all the questions in the world. Like, you could make up all the questions and answer them on like a document. But when it comes to the real thing, you're going to blank out. Like, it's going to happen. and you're going to forget what you like prepared as an answer for one of your prepared questions. So if you know your campaign by heart, you're going to answer with like so much confidence for that question that you don't even need to look at your document. And confidence sells. So you need to like be confident and competent, as Vivian said, which is very, very important.
I want to add something to that. I do agree that bragging can be, yes, you need to show your competence and your qualifications, but please don't, I guess you can on your flyer a little bit, but during your speech, don't list irrelevant qualifications. So if you're running for district editor and you're the president of your math club, I mean, that's great, but that has nothing to do with district editor. So if you do that, it makes you look a little bit, I don't know, like scattered. Try only to list the things that really matter to that position, even if you have accomplishments elsewhere, unless you're really lacking accomplishments for district editor or something like that. But really, please don't list irrelevant accomplishments. It looks kind of, I don't know, it looks a little bit unprofessional sometimes.
Another thing that I forgot to mention is like, as governor, you do have a governor's project. So if you do plan to run, you have to find a project that you want your district to implement while you're in term. So this year, my governor's project was Bags of Hope, which was geared towards the foster care system. And there was like two components, a service and advocacy component. I chose the foster care system because that's something that's close to my heart. And your governor's project can be anything, but a lot of times for governors, sometimes your governor's project can make or break you. And it's crazy to think that something like that could really have so many effects, but it does. The year before me, the governor had culture of caring for her governor's project. So it's really kind of up to you. You can choose anything that's personal and means something to you that you can talk about. You should just be able to talk about it in a passionate way and convey why it's important to you, so that everybody else can kind of like understand and want to be a part of your mission. So it's another part. But yeah, I think, is there any other comments that anybody wants to throw in? I do want to quickly say the CL position, and the CL position is interviewed. So the next governor will actually like ask the CL candidates to make a theme presentation for convention. And then the CL candidate will be interviewed by the staff and Kelly, who oversees our convention. So that's kind of how the CL is chosen. And then the TP is usually asked to submit some logos, graphics, and stuff like that that are then looked over. And then potentially the TP candidates could be interviewed as well. So that kind of just depends on the staff and admin next year, what they decide to do. So any other questions? Okay, well, I think my day was great, Amy. Thanks for asking. So yeah, that's really it. I guess just a few words that I would share with you guys before is have fun. No matter what happens, through this process, it's a learning experience. And I promise you're going to grow so much out of it, regardless of whether the decision comes in your favor or not. I can promise you that before caucusing, I was not this person. Like, I could not talk. I could talk, but like, it was hard and it was scary. And now like it's a lot more easier. So caucusing really prepares you for the best and the worst. You're going to have a lot of fun time doing it, even if during the experience it doesn't feel like fun. But after that, you're going to have a lot of laughs to share, I promise. So just have fun with it. believe in yourself, because that is the most important thing. I think if anything, I would go back and like believe in myself a little bit more, because people around me believed in myself, but I didn't. And that really was, that changed a lot, you know? So just believe in yourself, give it your best, and good luck to you guys all. Just by showing up here today, I can see that you guys have a lot of initiative, and I think all of you guys would be great candidates, and respect each other. And I wish you guys all the best for next year. For sure, Maybelline. I'm so glad you guys enjoyed it. Thank y'all so much for coming. I love you guys. Bye.
I wish they asked more questions.